What's up, everybody? We're having a live look at when I will be number one on the free-for-all leaderboard. So here is the situation. The Tigers only played 2 games in the last couple of weeks. Pretty soon the leaderboard will update itself, and sometimes it does so every 15 minutes. But while we're waiting, I'm going to show you guys stuff that works in teams but doesn't in FFA, etc., and the other way around. So without further ado, let's jump into the analysis. Okay, never mind. I think what I want to do instead, what if I were to go into the analysis board of, I just do this. Okay, nice. While we're having a live look at the leaderboard, I will show you that the trap in free-for-all does not work like it does in teams. So this is where red starts out with H3, and then we have D6, G12. This is a standard Sicilian Caracan. Red goes with the standard move, which is D4. There's a Rezas Raku variation, which is knight D3. But then the queen goes here. In free-for-all, yellow decides to play bishop to H12, which is actually quite funny. In a team's game, you normally can do this and that, and it's basically 2 pieces. You have to give up your bishop and then lose another bishop, or some players do that play the queen to I3 and then they have to give up the queen. But here's what happens if green decides to take. Queen to I3. Yeah, actually any move, really. Because then after this, this, in teams, queen here does not work, and queen here just gives up a queen, because the idea is that the blue queen will go on F14 and deliver checkmate. But this is free-for-all, guys. That, if in free-for-all, alright, let's go back. It's checkmate. So that's one example. I just showed you guys it works in teams, but it doesn't in free-for-all, the trap. Here's another example of something I learned that doesn't work. And this is doing the Skywalker attack. Sucks that my opening gets taken down in the free-for-all easily. And if you're blue, you actually trade bishops. And you do the queen pawn as green. Because then queen check. Standard in teams is to do this knight move. However, you could do this one. And if the knight blocks, then queen check. Believe it or not, yeah, that doesn't work in teams, but it does in free-for-all, and here's why. So the red could try to block off anything with the bishop, but since he's not teammates with yellow anymore, really doesn't matter what blue does here. I think he can like get a knight out or something. Whose move was it? Oh, it's red's move. If red takes the rook, then green could just develop a knight. Here. Okay, back. Oh yeah, okay. I think what I was trying to get onto here is after this one, hit this one, this forces red to give up a queen. Because red cannot capture back, it's actually a check on yellow, and that happens. But I've seen some variations where red plays queen j4 instead of queen k5, and that causes serious problems in this opening, and allows green to actually make a queen sacrifice such as that. So if he goes here instead, then he trades bishops, and I think this is just winning for blue-green. Um, I mean, I guess you trade queens or something like that. But let's say red doesn't check him. Let's say he just plays a knight here. Knight here even. Then he can actually sacrifice his queen and get away with it. Because then after this one, this, and he's pinned. Anyways, it's incredible what can happen in free-for-all that can in teams. And then the last thing was, as I showed you in the other video, the queen sacrifice and in the Sicilian opening. Really doesn't matter which order you do things, but usually we'll see like passive play by both sides, the knight here, etc. Back pawn here, this, bishop here, develops a knight, and let's say he develops a knight too. Now, queen out here, you may think it gets you out of trouble, but really, in teams, you're allowed to take back with the pawn, move the king out, and, in teams, normally what would happen is, after this move and this development, the queen would not be able to sacrifice itself. As a matter of fact, I'm sure an engine in free-for-all would say, hey, let's take blue's queen or knight. But here, he takes with the queen pawn. Take here. And, well, suppose he defends that pawn. In teams, what would happen is this, and the king would be able to move over. But this immediately is checkmate because that's not how move order works in free-for-all. And plus, this is an enemy piece as well. So, just some cool things that happen in free-for-all that can't happen in teams. There's that factor of checking your opposite and the move order, mate order, and stuff like that. Checkmate happens immediately in free-for-all. It happens on player's turn and teams. Meanwhile, I'm still waiting on my rank to change to number 1 because I'm optimized for streaming and he is not going to be back anytime soon. It'll be official very soon, as he'll have played no games in the last 2 weeks. So, still editing and uploading some episodes of Road to 2300 as we speak. Obviously ended on a good result here, as you can see, 2307. Let's see, what else do we want to analyze here? Maybe I have opinions on openings, I guess, in free-for-all. Other than the fact that I've showed you some things that don't work. Generally, this is just my opinion, what happens more often than not, when you're blue and you play Sicilian, you're actually more likely, I think, to expose yourself to a checkmate by red-yellow if green makes a mistake. And if you're green, then you're more likely to. Let's show what's going on here. If you play queen pawn as blue, this is move 1. We're going all the way back to move 1. Whatever you play as blue-green, or whatever you play as blue, might actually determine which way it could go wrong if a player makes a mistake, or if your opposite makes a mistake. But if you play Sicilian, it's very risky, because if your opposite makes a mistake, I think you're dead, because you have all sorts of exposure on yourself, and you're trying to get your queen out in this direction. You have your diagonals open, but you do have the chance to get your queen out faster than them because you have this pawn attacked. In free-for-all, oh yeah, that leads me into another thing. The gambit, getting the queen out, queen takes, queen here, queen takes, queen here. It doesn't work. This leads to this and this, and you just got 3 versus 1 as red. So losing that pawn in f2 in teams is not actually that bad, but losing the f2 pawn in free-for-all is absolutely horrible if your knight is still on the first rank. So back to what I was saying about what I think, it's very unselfish of me. This is just me saying that it's very unselfish of me to play Sicilian as blue, because I think it offers more chances, given that you're the defense going in the opening, which is actually the move that I played in the last game, of course, in the last episode. But if green makes a mistake, I think you're dead. More than likely, as I've seen in free-for-all, queen pawn gets played as green because that's what they're used to. That's a move that you can pre-move safely. You cannot pre-move the Sicilian pawn safely, because what if yellow goes with this one? Then that is fool's mate. And look at this. So if you red in this position, another kind of funny thing here, you don't want to move your queen, because if you do, then 2 versus 1 checkmate. So queen takes f2 is kind of a resource here if your opposite fool's mates himself for whatever reason in this kind of situation. But as we see here, we just sensible green would not play that move. But we have the Sicilian Caricon, or Sicilian, double Sicilian here. Sicilian Caricon, also played by green a lot in the high level. But I think that if you play a Sicilian, he plays a Caricon, you're more likely to die than he is in the event that somebody's made a mistake, because you got a diagonal wide open. Sometimes the player that plays passive, his opposite dies first. So, but if you are blue and you play queen pawn, you get to a very positional type of opening more than a tactical, and everyone just plays what I consider a boring opening of just this stuff, getting the queen out, here, etc. Pretty sharp opening for red yellow. But I have seen in a lot of games that green tends to die first in queen pawn, blue queen pawn types of openings. I'm not sure if that's because red yellow have a lot of initiative. They get their queens out immediately on move 1, and a Sicilian offers resistance to getting the queen out. Double Sicilian, as a matter of fact, you get the queen out first as blue-green. So I think that the queen pawn for blue is saying, green, you have to play perfectly or else you die first, which is probably the reason that players have been more comfortable with that one than with the Sicilian. I play with a lot of risk. I like sharp stuff, so I play the Sicilian. It's blue. All right, so let's see what happened on the leaderboard. And there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, we are number 1 at about 6:30 Central Time, US Central Time, and we have achieved the goal of a lifetime. Number 1 in the world in free-for-all among active players. We did it, ladies and gentlemen. Should I stop my analysis? I think we've hit some of the fun, cool, free-for-all stuff kind of theory and FFA. Do I think that in FFA, red-yellow have an even more significant advantage? Of course, because if, say, red goes for green, blue goes for yellow, I'm just using this as a hypothetical example. If red goes for green in a team's game and blue goes for yellow, and they're both in checkmate position, yellow is going to be mated first. So that offers green more chances than yellow. But if in free-for-all, red goes for green, blue goes for yellow, and the checkmates both occur in the same cycle, then green is checkmated first. Let's say that some of green's pieces were involved in putting yellow in a checkmate position. Well, green's pieces would be dead, so yellow would be free, and I think the advantage is very significant for red-yellow. I think it's more so significant in free-for-all. But there's a lot of learning to be done by a bunch of free-for-all players, as you have seen in some of my videos. So it is not fully developed yet, and free-for-all teams, if you will. Players are still going to play what they want, and you never know. One day it might be red-yellow winning every single game on the free-for-all in the free-for-all archive at the top level. But that would end all the fun here, and maybe the players decide, hey, I think that we're going to head in the direction of playing it more solo-like, because it's unfair to red-yellow that they're in the advantage from move 1. So maybe they play solo instead of free-for-all, and we're going to do things in the rating system that might make free-for-all more of a solo-type game, the way it's originally intended. But for now, we have our good solo variant where old school players, a lot of old school players are up there. Wait, yeah, Samir, he's old school. Neo-Serbian, he's pretty old school too. Crazy House Chess, I mean, there's a lot of names that, VRD, TMR, there's a lot of new players up there too, but the ones that were there at the beginning, Justin D7, by the way, yeah. And he was in the Champion final, as was Neo-Serbian. But this is the one where I think if Raku were to return to play this, he would also do very well. He had 2300 as a matter of fact, and he would be able to retain it because solo is when everybody's playing their best, the slightly better players are going to win. But if you're doing this free-for-all thing, it's going to be the better teamers or the people that decide, let's gang up on the big guy, and we can go 1-2. Basically, so solo, I encourage a lot more people to play solo. And for now, I'm definitely not going to play any more of this popular free-for-all game. I'm going to let my score sit up there for 2 weeks, and then it will disappear. And who knows, I might be back one day to play free-for-all, but today is not the day. But here it is. Ranked number 1, free-for-all. It's been fun playing these free-for-all games. It's been frustrating too. So a lot of other players can attest to that. That it's very frustrating. What more do I have to add here? I think that free-for-all has gone in a direction it wasn't intended, but solo is a good alternative for free-for-all. And of course, there's teams, which has all the theory. And at the low levels, people are still, the queens are still in the back row, of course. And we can see right here, this is a 1900 average game, and they're playing it just like they would a solo game. Uh, so, and I mean, other conclusions I want to draw about this game, just because players across from each other are there start to finish, they're still going to want to win. But they believe that the chances are 50% if they do team with each other from start to finish. So even if green is gone, um, you know, yellow won't want to give away mate to red, and red had the game winning. So it might be just kind of back and forth until they grab as many pieces of blues as possible without plundering the game to each other. And it will be blue who decides who wins between red and yellow. And the great thing about 4 and 0 is that you have the clock as an element too, and if red yellow are thinking about things and overthinking, then they'll die and blue will win 1 versus 2. And yellow has to be careful about his placement of pieces to red, or else blue takes a mate that is covered by yellow. That's 2 versus 1. Anyway, I think I've had enough with this game. While it was fun, I think I'd like to take a break from this nonsense free-for-all game. It's still very popular, which I'm pretty happy about, but it's still being debated as something the admins have done nothing about and has become a game of teaming. So I don't know how much more I have to add about this game. We are currently working on solutions for free-for-all. The one that we have, or the one that we have available is, of course, play solo instead. And a lot of critics say play teams instead. So, anyway, that's all I got for this one. Thank you all for keeping up with my YouTube channel. Thank you all for subscribing, for watching. If you're a new subscriber, welcome to my channel. About to hit 100. And thanks for watching.